Dr. Ron Paul, former U.S. congressman and three-time presidential candidate, is a well-known advocate for free markets and non-interventionism. Now, I had the chance to sit down with him to get his take on a number of issues, including the state of the U.S. economy. I first asked Paul if the Fed should start raising rates since we're finally seeing signs of real job recovery. Here's what he had to say.
I think the Fed should not deal with rates. They shouldn't raise them. They shouldn't lower them. They should just get out of the way and let the market set the rates. Because many people have argued that we got into this trouble because Bernanke, or Greenspan actually, kept rates too low too long. And then when the individuals got in to correct it, they lowered them even lower. Now, if you're interested in a market economy, one of the worst things you can do is rig and regulate interest rates. It's price fixing, and the interest rates are one half of the economy because it manipulates the value of the currency. So I would say that you don't know what is best. My assumption would be that zero is pretty low, and that if you allowed the market to enter into the picture, rates would be higher, and we wouldn't be punishing the savers. Free market rewards people who save and be responsible, pay their bills, and take care of themselves. But under the circumstances where you make rates zero or minus, nobody wants to do that, and this destroys the whole market process.
Dr. Paul, the Fed says it's worried about deflation, but you seem to be worried about the destruction of the dollar. So can you tell me why the Fed's deflation fears are misplaced?
Well, because they have a different definition than free market economists have. We believe that inflation is when you have a monopoly control over a fiat currency, the paper money, and you increase it excessively, and that's inflating the currency, and by common sense it tells you it lowers the value of the currency. And there's been no deflation. I mean, if you look at QEs and look at what's happened since the recession of '08, I mean, they've quadrupled or more of the monetary base. It's just that people don't want to use it because they have no confidence, but the money is out there and the distortions are still felt. You still have excessive debt. You still do have even price inflation they won't admit to. The price of a bond is sky high. The price of the stock market is sky high once again. Housing prices are soaring in many parts of the country. And then for them to say there's no inflation, talk to people who have to pay for a college education or for medical care. There's a lot of price inflation, but there's a lot of monetary inflation. And that means there's a lot of distortion, a lot of malinvestment, and excessive debt, and we have not done anything to correct the fundamental flaws that gave us the Great Recession.
Now, the Swiss are going to vote in November whether to prohibit gold sales and mandate that assets be backed at least by 20% gold. So what do you make of these measures?
Well, I think this is great. I think that's the people waking up. Switzerland used to have a really great reputation for banking as well as sound money. So now they want to repatriate their gold. They don't want any more gold sold, and they want their currency backed by 20%. This is very, very good, and they're letting the people speak out. I just hope the people have not been brainwashed enough to thinking that this is a bad move. I think it's a wonderful move. And of course, openness in banking is something I've argued here, and they continue, even though I am not in Washington, they've continued with the idea that we should audit the Fed and know what's going on in central banking. So this is a challenge to the central bank and the whole monetary system. So I'm watching that referendum very closely.
The Swiss National Bank has actually intervened to keep the currency from appreciating because it was harming exporters. So was this good policy or folly, in your opinion?
Well, on the short run, I guess they've argued this for years, and we do it all the time. We issue a currency, which is the reserve currency. We keep our interest rates very, very low. But for other reasons, the fact that we're still a wealthy country and we have a wealthy and a huge military, you know, the dollar holds up reasonably well. But no, we challenge the others. We challenge China and others for not allowing their currencies to float. But we don't. We rig it. And it also, we get this special benefit that we can run a trade and a deficit with the foreigners. So we are the greatest debtor nation in the history of the world. It seems like we're getting away with it, but what I'm saying is we're not going to get away with it forever. There's going to be a price to pay for us doing that.
Now, back to the U.S., let's return. So what should we do about all of the debt that households have been allowed to build up, especially if the real burden of that debt increases the deflationary recession? I mean, should we force banks to write down all this stuff?
Well, we should just get out of the way. When it gets out of whack, and Adam Smith even talked about this, when governments especially get a debt at a certain level, it's never paid. It's never paid for by the people working harder and paying more taxes than you pay down the debt. They just resort to studying Keynesian economics that says deficits are good, they're not bad. Borrow money, spend money. And that's just what makes the economy percolate. But I don't believe that that is true. And I think debt is...
That was former U.S. Congressman Dr.